in a little, well, not too much, so we can try to still end it not too
That's cool.
late.
Okay, cool.
I
2
gotta
o'clock,
take
15 will be done. Well,
Okay.
hello, family. How's everybody doing? I
Good. How are you?
hope
How are
everybody is
you?
doing well here. I'm good. Okay, I'm hearing an echo.
Should we say good as can be, good as can be. But you know, we're
Yeah,
keeping the best po-
okay, I'm
it
hearing.
it just muted my mic out of the blue. I don't know. My phone's
Hold on,
against
let me
me.
see. I'm trying to see if I'm why I'm hearing the echo. Okay, is that better? Okay, cool. I don't know what that
Yeah.
was, but yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay, I want us to get started. And the title today, we have an amazing title: "Movement in the Midst of Fear." That's and Nubian came up with that title, but she's going to tell us what it means. But I want to introduce you guys to something really super quick here. I know that we were talking about the boycott, but I want to give you guys some options, and it's a website where you can go to either put your business on that website, or it will help you to find out what's in your area. So let me introduce that to you. I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll introduce that, and then we'll come back, Nubian, with the show. Okay, we're just gonna do this real quick. Hold on, let me see, where is it? I'm gonna share my screen. Yeah. Also share systems audio, entire screen. Okay, I'm trying here, but you know me. I ain't did this in so long. I'm like, what in the world? But we're gonna make it happen here. We're gonna make it happen. All right. And let me know if you guys can see it here. Okay. Can you guys see it? Can you guys see that? I'm trying to see. Okay. I'm gonna go on. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see what I'm showing? Or no? Can't even hear you guys. So I must be doing something wrong here. Let me see.
It goes on. Okay, there it is. I can see it. This is interesting for me to see this
Oh,
too, because we were doing this like 15 years ago. I guess the times caught up with us, and now it's time for everybody to come
yeah,
together. So this is
about
good.
time. About
Yeah,
time. I've been talking
yeah.
about this for 10 years,
We're
and
trying
this
to
is
wake
an
people up
official
for a minute.
melanated market.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, no.
yes. And they
Yeah.
finally, it's time now. I think it's time now. So this is the
Yeah. I used to
official
work with
Melanated Market Network, and it's
I
called
used to work with
melanatedmarketnetwork.com.
yeah.
Go
Nice.
ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say
And yep,
I
they
was
got a
working with
whole,
Black Wall Street out of Chicago, so it's good to see, this is another form of of the Black Wall Street, and we need this nowadays, and it's
yes,
bringing us
yes,
together. But what I'm noticing too in the algorithm is they're putting more videos up of us fighting. Those are pushing to the front, but no, those are distractions. If you see videos like that, just block those people off your page. But right now, it's a whole Wall Street, a Black Wall Street movement, and as you can see, what Cassie has pulled up here, this is a whole ecosystem. This is needed and on time. How do we sign up for this?
yep. Block them and move on. This is just a little bit of their website. Members only. I guess you can. How much? That's what earn income. Let me see. Bringing coaches together. You could probably go on there. It's melaninmarketnetwork.com. And I'm trying to get to the bottom to see start chapter. I guess you could start a chapter also in your city. Your city deserves this. Lorraine, I'll be back over there to get you in a minute, Lorraine. And then they have the different broadcasts that they have. Officials apply for interview. Oh, okay. So support the legacy. Visit this enter into the network, apply for ambassador, start a chapter, unlock podcast features. So you can go on the website and just play with the website. It says enter the network up here. It says enter the network. I guess you can start, I guess save my spot, or let me see. It's got to be a way to grow your business, so enter the network. I guess you can sign up there. Maybe I'm thinking, bring it to my city. So I will go in here and kind of play. And then they did have another one before you go. This is another one. Just is another website here. I hope that we can see this one. Also official.
Yeah, that's
So
nice.
slow today. This is crazy. Well, this was one here, okay, and they have a lot of products on this one here. They got a lot of products, okay.
Do you know if these are international as well? These are
All the
global?
way up. And this is MIIRI. You know what? I don't know if it's global. Because we just ordered something, and I tell you that just getting stuff here. Now you might be able to do it there in Kenya, but here on the island, it's like you have to pay an extra fee to do anything.
Fee.
You know what I'm saying? But they got little, this is another website. It's MIIRIYA. Now he's the founder, I guess. And he has a lot of different products on here. You guys can play just depending on if you have a product. You can put it on both spaces and get on TikTok and go with it. This is our opportunity right here to, and I'll stop here. But this is your opportunity to get your business started. If you really are interested in getting a business going, this is your opportunity to make it happen. Yeah,
I'm gonna put my health baskets on.
Yeah, this is your opportunity to make it happen. So I am going to. Yes, I have a couple of books. I have a journal. I have A Mother's Love. That's my book, and I have 2 journals that I'm going to put on there also. So if you have a product, if you have a book, you have whatever. This is our time. So and we need to support, not just say we're going to boycott something. We have to have something to replace it. So if we're saying you're going to boycott, this is what you can use to replace it. So these are a couple of sites that we found, and one is like a phone book. So if you go on the phone book and you look it up and you put your business out there, and even TikTok is a great advertisement thing right now, because I see a lot of Black-owned businesses coming up on TikTok on my feed. So put in, Black-owned businesses and go to town and create your video, put it on TikTok, put it on your Facebook page. Let's get this is your time to shine. Because, you tell me you sell, we're going to support other people. Okay, that look like us, then we need to know what businesses are out there. So this is a great way of finding out.
This is like bringing something to my spirit. Like I have my Exodus app and my Exodus Invention. It's already set up. However, we're still in completion of the app, which means I'm still in need of funding for it. So now I need to probably go start a GoFundMe just to finish my app. Now, what's interesting about my Exodus app is they're targeting the male in America and overseas. So what Exodus app does, it's an actual bartering system, even for your neighbor next door. Your neighbor may have oranges or apples, and you go trade oranges and apples and give them a ride, Yeah. So things like that is needed right now. Yeah, this is good that we're coming together. I love to see this.
Yes, I love.
We've always been united. Yeah, we've always been united as a people. I really feel that we're last minute people. Like, how we work, like we work better under pressure. It's just like when you have to do something last minute. So now the pressure's on. So now we're being forced to come together and work together, We're
being forced. So and it's a thing, we have to be forced to do anything. I wish we could get it to where we could get in the game ahead of time. So we don't have to rush to run to get in the game. We could already be ready. Instead of us getting ready, we need to be ready. But I'll take it or leave it, whichever way possible. But I do believe that this is the Most High's turn, and this is Him doing this. He's bringing us together because this is what it's going to be anyway. So we need to look and understand. If you understand who you are and you understand the calling, you understand the people, you'll understand that it's going to be us. Okay, so we're gonna have to learn how to get it along. We're gonna have to learn how to support and love on each other. And I do believe that right now we have done our children a disservice by putting them in their schools and leaving them in those schools, and not like right now buying land, getting your schools together. Like Lorraine works with homeschooling, right? Lorraine, you work with homeschooling. She does that. We can do some homeschooling, and I think that right now is what we need to get our children out of their schools. Because a lot of what we see with this Anthony baby, Carmelo Anthony, we wouldn't have saw that if he was in our own environment, in our own home. He would be in jail. Because the ancestors, they had schools, we had our hospitals, we had communities, we had all of that. But what did we do? We went back to Egypt. That's not what we were supposed to do. So
Yeah.
now we got to come on out of Egypt again, okay, and stick with our own, support our own, because you have businesses. Let's start supporting them. We're worth
Yeah.
$1.2 trillion. Let's make this thing happen, right?
Yeah.
We can do it even here. Africa needs to
Yeah.
come together with Africa. Okay, Kenya needs to come together. But now you see more infighting with South Africa and Nigeria, South Africa and Ghana.
It's all by
done.
design.
It's all by
It's
say
all
it
by
again.
design.
All
Yeah.
by design. You see us coming together in the States, and now here you look at these, and they coming, well, we
Yeah.
don't want you do. That's some white folks stuff. That's not something
Yeah.
black folks do. That's some white
Yeah.
man's
But
in there.
it's interesting too. It's interesting too because a friend of mine, she lives in Ireland, and
Okay.
she
Ireland.
texted me yesterday and said, "Pray for me because they're getting ready to start, their civil riots here and their civil war here." And I said, "Yeah, I'm on top of it. I'll pray." So today I'm scrolling the internet, and here it is. It's like, the Europeans going, the Irish going door to door, beating on the doors of every single house and every single apartment, screaming, "Immigrants, go, get out of our land." And I said, this is what these leaders are doing all over the planet. It's like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So they're just causing division, race wars, making everyone come against each other.
But remember what the word say. God said he gonna send everybody back to their location. Didn't he say that?
Yeah.
He said he's gonna send everybody back to your original.
Yeah.
So that means a lot of black folk in America need to come on
Yeah.
back over the
Yeah.
water, get where you need to be, because I don't see them kicking up. I'm just saying we're good. So we have to understand the real. What's the big deal? This is a spiritual matter. I do believe. Trying to get people where they need to be, because I cannot strike at one without hitting the other. So my thing is, if I divide, I can get the ones that I need to get. So this is the way it shares. People don't understand this. This is spiritual. And we look at it and we be like, oh my God, but we have to stop trying to hold on to America. We have to stop holding on to these different countries that you didn't originate from. If you originated from Africa, which your DNA says Africa, your DNA is Africa. You can't change DNA, plain and simple. No matter how you try, DNA is DNA. It's not going to change. You might not have been there, but you were born there. Your lineage was born there. Your ancestors was born there. So let's stop saying I'm not African, because if your DNA is Africa, you are African.
Yeah.
Oh, we can stop all that. So I want us to talk about this movement in the midst of fear. Let's talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? What does that mean to you, Lorraine? What does that mean to you, Nubian? It doesn't matter whichever one wants to go first. What does that mean?
Lorraine?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Movement in the midst of fear is, so everywhere you look, because, I'm here in Kenya, and we literally moved out of a house that directly behind our house. I don't know, I just felt an urgency to move. And we moved just on time. Whatever we did not get to pack, that we had a whole back house, we left everything. And whatever can fit on the truck, I just felt an urgency, we moved. And I know that's a prompting of, the Holy Spirit moving us. So we moved, and then not even 5 days later, 7 days later, it was front page news that the very airport that was directly behind the house was where they're making the contract with Trump and Ruto to do the Ebola base right there. So now that I'm in a new location, there's been a lot of scare with, Americans either coming to Africa, or different people who are in the UK, or even Ireland or Panama or Mexico. They're like, get out of Kenya, get out of there. You're gonna, get Ebola. You gotta run. And for a minute, I was like, oh man, like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I started looking at Turkey.
Okay.
I started looking at Asia, because I have airline ticket with Asia airline credit. So I started looking at Vietnam. I started looking at Thailand. I just started looking at where different expats were going. And I realized that the visas are locked. You can run anywhere you want. You're probably going to be there for 60 days. and you have to run and flee again. And what if you don't have the funds to do that?
Right,
So I'm
right.
looking for long-term places that we can go to. And the longest place that I found was Vietnam. Well, Thailand, a lot of people are running to Thailand, but they're making the rules strict. You
Yeah,
have
they
to be
changed
out of there within 60 days. They changed it now. And if you're not out of there within
Oh.
60 days, when you go to the airport, you will be arrested. Same thing with Vietnam. Vietnam, they're making it to where they want more expats there, but
Okay.
you do have to leave every 90 days. You can't stay. There's no going in and I mean, no staying there. You have to go in and come out every 90 days. So what if you don't
Okay.
have the funding within 90 days? And I know the times that we're in, and as Americans, the dollar is going to crash any second. So I looked at Turkey. But then I realized too, like, okay, Turkey, you can stay there for a year under your
Okay.
visa. But even
Okay.
staying in Turkey and then Turkey, they love Black women. That's how
But let
Turkey
me ask
is.
you, is that part of the European, is that part of America's economic
It's in
system also?
between Europe and Asia.
Okay.
That's where Turkey is at. But then when
Okay.
I started going deeper in my prayer to pray about it, God was like, America, Turkey
Okay.
is going down.
Okay. So
And
that's a no.
certain parts of Africa is going down. So it's basically like WAR is coming to Turkey. It's just not a good move. So
Yeah.
as I begin to look at everything, I'm like, man, even if it seems like the area is quiet, I think even Lorraine mentioned, I think it's Algerine, or is that the area?
Albania?
Albania, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Albania
Uh-huh.
was an option. We started looking at Albania. Next thing you
They
know,
doing
not even a
something
couple of
there?
days later, they were, rioting and everything there. So
Yes,
then
yes.
it just started sparking a fear. It sparked fear, within myself. And I'm looking at, my child, I'm looking at, my family, and I'm just like, where do you go? It's happening everywhere. Then you're looking in China, and more videos are surfacing about how they don't accept Black Americans there. So China,
Okay.
some areas they do accept Black Americans, but other places they're more snapping pictures and just putting the pressure on Black Americans. So, and then some areas you look at on
My thing
China.
is still your butt to a Black country. Please stop
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Thing
that
is,
was
go
one
to
of
a
my main things too, was like being around my skin folks.
Yeah.
And even though, we still have our challenges as Africans versus African Americans, we still have our challenges, but it's way different than being in America. You can't even drive down the back streets of Tennessee without being pulled over, So even different places, you look at China, there's videos surfacing that there's a zombie apocalypse going on right now. And different places in China. The same thing with America. There's different pockets of a zombie apocalypse, a zombie outbreak. So there's videos surfacing. People are turning into zombies at Walmarts, but it's a hush over that. You go to other areas, there's outbreaks of plagues where people are, having plagues that are going on within their system. You look at other places and there's famine. You look at other places around the globe and there's no food, there's a drought. Or you look at other places, there's war. People are rioting or warring with each other. And I'm like, okay, we're in a box. We're stuck in a box. Like, where would you go? Like, even if it seems quiet over in this area, if you run to that area, what happens when you get over there? Like, we were going to go to Dubai, and you look at the airports now, like they just shut down the airports and no one can fly. You're stuck there,
Yep.
And I'm like, you can't go anywhere. So I know that if that fear came over me, even my husband himself, he said, he's like, I got to get back. I got to get to, let me get out of here. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of Kenya before they shut down these airports. This whole Ebola thing going on. And then we're hearing other people in America saying, man, we're not coming to Kenya at all. We're not going nowhere near Africa with that Ebola going on. But if you look at the news, Ebola is in DR Congo and it's in Uganda. Kenya's next door to it, but there's no known cases of reported of Ebola here in Kenya. But because Ruto is here and Kenya is a place that a lot of Black Americans were coming to. So no coincidence that they're using Ruto to scare a lot of Black people out of Kenya. Now, another thing too is, yes, God is moving a lot of his children from the four corners of the earth, like he said he would. But at the same
Yeah.
time, no matter where you want to go, Asia, Kenya, Greece, Turkey, France, the UK, Mauritius, no matter where you want to go, you really have to decide, am I going to make this move? Because if you
Right.
look at what other people are saying, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be afraid of your friends who are telling you that the airlines are crashing. So it's like, you have to make it up in your mind. Like, am I going to make this move? And am I going to make a decision? And your decision has to be based off of, what you really know in your heart to do, and
Right.
taking this before God, saying,
Right.
God, okay, I have to take it before you because really you're the only one I can depend on. And I'm talking
Yeah.
about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let me be clear. So
Yeah.
if you go in different places, the big deal right now, many people are even moving to Nigeria and
Yeah.
with Nigeria or Morocco, and if they move to those areas of Morocco, I have friends that are they're in Cape Verde.
Uh-huh.
So, and then even being in Cape Verde, there are certain pockets that you go to where it's a race war going on. If it's not a color war going on,
Mhm.
it's a race war going on. It's
Oh
or
my.
it's the Christians against the Muslims. If you're not converting to be Muslim, then it's something going on everywhere. So with
Oh
with
my
things
goodness.
going on all over the globe, you really have to. It's about choosing which God you're going to serve. You're going to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or you're going to serve the beast.
Yeah.
You're going to get that mark in the back of the hand or the back of the forehead, and you will forever be kicked out of heaven. And what's deep about it is they're forming groups to force you to serve the God that you serve, or serve which God you want to serve. And the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob gives you a choice, but it's going to consist of eternal life or eternal
Right.
damnation. So right now, yeah, you see wars, rumors of wars. You see race wars going on. You see apocalypse going on. You see all these things going on. But I know there's a few people that are right now in America. They want to move, but they feel stuck. They feel like,
Yeah.
what do I do? Like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Like if I go over here, something's going to happen, or it's quiet over here right now. Let me go in this direction. But if you go in that direction and you haven't made it up in your mind, hey, no matter what I see in this area, I got to stand on my faith. Either
Yeah.
your God's going to save you or your God's going to take you out.
Yeah.
So it's like, choose, pick, pick your battles,
You gotta
So
be
yeah,
prayed up, you gotta be hearing,
yeah,
and a lot of people are just afraid right now to move left or right. But my thing is, if you have a relationship and it's about a relationship, you have to get into the Most High's face and ask him, where is it that I'm supposed to be? And I don't
yeah,
believe that he's gonna send you somewhere where it's going to hurt you. It's gonna be dangerous for you. I believe that if this is where he told you to come, then you're gonna be good. You're gonna be safe. I
yeah,
do believe that, because I believe that he has a certain remnant. He's got a certain covering around his people. So if he tells you to go somewhere, I believe that you're safe. I do.
absolutely,
What are your
absolutely.
thoughts? Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Hopefully it doesn't kick me out. Well, we're talking about movement in the midst of fear. And I stand on another side of it too, is that I do think that the Most High is calling people out who are going to other places besides Africa. And I think that's where they're supposed to be.
Mhm.
And that, so for example, I know people moving to Costa Rica and they are thriving there. Will they stay there? We don't know, because we don't know totally what the Most High is going to do at the 12th hour.
Right.
And I'm still standing on that as well, because I do believe that there are people who have heard and aren't obeying. And I also think that there are people who still haven't heard yet. And it's going to be about timing, because the reality is this does cost money. It does.
Oh,
And
God,
some people who are there have elderly they're taking care of. Some people
Yeah.
have special needs. They can't just take off of, equipment and medical things. And I just don't think we serve a father that would be that heartless.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I know that he has a special plan for those who literally cannot get out. And I think that there are those who cannot.
Right.
And would like to. So I always think about that too. And some of us he has called out and has given us the ability to do so. So I sort of stand on all these little platforms going, let's look at this as a holistic thing too, because I think that there are people in some European countries that were told to get out, and that's where they're supposed to be right now. It doesn't mean that they won't come this way. It doesn't mean that we won't hear something in the spirit that says shift here now. So, you know, I know that he told me to come here, but I don't know that he's going to make me stay here. You know, I have to be open to hearing some movement in the spirit that maybe other people won't hear. You know, with his people. So I'm sort of listening for a little bit of leaving room for him and not just what I think should be going on. Because it's real ambiguous right now in some ways. And in that ambiguousness, it's also real clear. So you really have to have your own discernment and not what everybody else is doing. What has he told you specifically to do?
Yeah.
I think that's really important because all of us have different situations and have to monitor different things in our lives. And the Father is good at knowing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm really trying to listen to that and stay out of fear. But also examining my own self, you know, because coming out of America, we're taught to do things a different way, and coming into a place of total and utter dependence on the Most High for this. And he knows that we're going to have moments of fear. That's why he says, don't be afraid. If we weren't going to have moments, he wouldn't say it. So, and in those moments, you know, asking him to pour into me a greater measure amount of faith and help the unbelief that's in me and repenting of it. And then trusting in his mercy and his grace that in those moments, he knows this, he knows where I'm weak and he's going to be strong, and that his grace and his mercy is with me every day in this move, because it's really difficult. It's very, very difficult move. And I'm not one to put on this face of be strong. And, you know, that's just not how I roll. So, you know, I think it's, for me, it's being real and saying, this is tough. It's hard to, obey sometimes. And, you know, I was even talking to him the other day and thinking about some of the moves that he's asked our brothers and sisters that went before us. And sometimes there's some details about how they felt, and other times there weren't, and how they might have felt leaving people behind and situations and walking into unknown places and trusting him fully, and how hard that was for them.
Wow.
Yeah, and you brought up a very good point, Lorraine, with the seniors and, you know, their handicaps and not just seniors, just children too may have handicaps, and people may not be able to move around or, you know, run around. I know when we were in Jamaica was, and even in Africa, it's mainly like steep hill and steep stairs. So they don't have the elevators or the system set up to where people can climb those places. And another point that you brought up too was, you know, it may just be for a season or a time that you're in that place. And you're absolutely right, because God says that he's going to scatter his children, from the four corners of the earth. So, so with that scattering, one thing that I was realizing though, is that a lot of people, specifically Black people, are still in America because of their house, their prep supply, and their things. So instead of them spending the money on a ticket or investing in lands in other countries, they were trying to save their house with their doomsday supply or their prep supply or their specific memorabilia or furniture. And now it's time to flee. They're like, I don't want to leave my stuff. I don't want to run. And I think what I used earlier when I said I just felt an inclination to leave the other property that we're at, and we left where the back house was, you know, an Airbnb, and it was all brand new furniture, but I couldn't fit it on the truck. But if I was saying to myself at the time, hey, I can't leave. I just bought this stuff. I'm not leaving this stuff. So we have to be careful not getting caught up in stuff or things. You know, when God says, come out of her, my people, least you go down with her wrath. So that's not just technically a location. That's also attachment to things or attachment to things of this world that can cause us to be caught up and not hear the voice of the living God, or not be able to tap into our intuition because we are blinded to the times, or we may want to be attached to those things. So yeah, that's some important points you brought up that I want to expand on.
Yeah. There's definitely, I think, some who've heard and know and are sitting on their comforts. It's just too scary for them. It's too scary to let go. But the bottom line is that at the end of the day, no matter what materialistic things you've stored up, that's not what's going to save you. You
That's
know,
right.
it is going to be the Most High Himself and our utter independence on Him, and allowing for Him to bring the manna and the quail in the water.
That's right. And even with you, the prep talk, we talked about the prep. Because when I was doing it, I didn't know anything about moving anywhere. I was prepping. I had bought stuff, and we tissue, everything, you name it, I bought it. I had it all stored away. And I'm like,
Right.
well, and then I heard this, and I was like, well, hold on here, because I was prepping for that. So I'm gonna just tell you, when it's about being obedient, and it's about walking in hearing and being obedient to what you heard. Because yes, I know God says one thing, like Joseph in the Bible, he told him, you're going to have 7 years of famine, well, blessings first, and then he said, then you'll have 7 years of famine. Now, what if Joseph had said, well, okay, while the blessed was blessed and he was just spending up everything, just doing. What if he hadn't saved up anything and said, well, God got me. Okay, but God told you 7 years of blessing, you're supposed to take some of that and store it for when you don't have it, all right? But what if he didn't do that? Because I hear a lot of people say, well, God got me. And I'm looking at them like, but did he tell you to leave? And they go, well, yeah. So, well, what do you mean he got you? He told you to leave. That's how he's going to get you. That's how when you say he got me, you being obedient is him having you, because he told you before anything happened to get out. So we have to really be listening here. You can't stay there because of a house. Because I remember seeing a guy when the California was on fire, and the guy was sitting in the house, and he's looking, and I'm like, why didn't you leave? If they're telling you all around you it's fire, and you're sitting in the midst of it, now you see it outside of your house and you can't go. What are we doing here? What are you going to fight the fire on all levels with a fire hose, hose trying to water the fire down? What are you doing? It makes no sense. We have to be obedient. I don't care about a car. I don't care about, because I have grown children. You have to understand that these are people, but grown people going to be grown people, and they make their own decisions. Yes, we talked about it. Yes, I talk to them all the time about it, but they still have to make their own choices. So it's either me listening to people, listening to my mom, listening to my kids, and say, hey, no, you have to be obedient. What did the Most High tell you to do? We have to be obedient, and be obedient to what his voice tells us, and make sure you listen into the right voice, because sometimes we're so conditioned. Every voice we hear says God's voice. Okay, he said, try the fruit, look at the fruit, try it, you got to try it with what you're hearing. Okay, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? Is it matching up with the word? It's always going to match up. If it don't match up, then that's not him. He's not going to tell you, something crazy, and it's not even matching up with the word, and you go and do it, and you say, okay, and then something happened. Then you say, well, God, I thought you had me. Well, yeah, I need you to hear. So now we need to be practicing hearing, because a lot of times any voice that talks to us will say it's God's voice, instead of trying the spirit with the spirit. We have to try that voice and understand, is that his voice? Did he really
Faith
tell me
comes by
to do?
hearing.
Yes,
Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the
Yes.
word of God. I wanted to
Yes.
bring up a couple of points that you were talking about, Cassie, and you said that you have to be obedient. And I was saying, well, people can't be obedient and serve two masters. Majority of the people who are still left or stuck where you're at, especially if you're in America, is still there because either a spouse or a child or a friend that even if they are mobile and they can leave, they don't want to leave them. They're afraid because they've been the main source. So they're afraid if they leave their family, that now the family is gonna not be able to, survive without them. So basically that those family members have made that person their God, and if they leave, then those family members will fall, whether it's depending on paying a rent, or whether it's depending on feeding them, or depending on caring for them. So, or they're afraid of losing family. They're afraid if they just only hear God's voice to go, that only they will go, and everyone else in the house may talk them out of it. But then, the Bible verse is clear when it says, come out of her, my people, flee, run, lest you go down with her wrath. Excuse me. Another thing I want to mention too, that you said, the thing that people were saving, like your food prep supply. Your food prep supply, we saved 15 years worth of food supply. When it was time for us to leave, when I say we had everything, we had everything. But at the same time, there was a knowing in my heart that when God said, leave it, I left it. We ran, we fled from those spaces. So a lot of times, like even when we're leaving, there are people that God was having me specifically tell, leave that house, sell the house, get the money that you can and go to another country. And people are like, man, I'm not selling my house. God gave me that house. Are you crazy? And I heard this from at least 5 people. They're like, God gave me this house. I am not leaving my house. So same thing with me. God told me to store up all my food supply, and I stored up all my food supply, but it was time to leave. It was the season for that. So same thing right now. There are people who stored up food supply. They may have stored up certain things in your house, but I'm going to tell you right now that majority of that food supply is not for you. There's going to come a time where you're going to have to flee and run out of that area, and you won't be able to stay there and preserve it and say, hey, I can't leave because my food supply is here. But I do know that God has provision set up for his people, which means at some point throughout this journey, some point throughout your lifetime, you're going to have to end up fleeing, and you're more than likely will flee from house to house. And many people have seen visions and reported signs and wonders where they had to flee and run from their house, and they ended up in a whole nother house or an underground basement, and it had every single thing that you needed in there. I know where my space is at, where I left, up in the Appalachians. Whoever lands on our spot, they're safe. Huh? They are they're safe. We're talking about, you name it, if it comes to doomsday supply, it's up there. And I thought it was for me. I thought it was for me and my family. And when God called me to preach the gospel, I said, I'm ready, God. You can strike the land now. And he says, no. I was like, what you mean, God? I'm ready. He says, no, now go warn your sisters and brothers of my wrath to come. So I didn't know I was going to have to leave it, So if, just it's time, especially right now, to get as close to God as you can. And many of you may say, well, how can I hear from God? God's not talking to me. Pick up the word of God. You see this right here? It's called the Bible. Basic instructions before leaving earth. If you're reading your Bible, you're hearing God speak. Just stay in it long enough, stay reading it long enough, and you will hear him give you messages. You will hear him talk to you. And he says, out of the mouths of 2 or 3, all is established. So you're going to see signs and wonders that will come, different messages that will show you, like you may see it on a billboard. You may hear someone say it. You may see a bumper sticker. You may be like, man, why do I keep seeing go to Greece? I keep seeing Greece everywhere. Like when we moved, like we were door dashing, and I saw statues of different African statues in Arizona, and another one in Tennessee, and then one on the road again, another one in North Carolina. And I'm like, why do we keep seeing these weird Africans? They're just out of place, Right. So that's, different ways he can speak to you.
Yes. And it's always through, it could be through somebody else, but in your point of saying, if you, just like the husband and the wife or the kids, sometimes if you go and you're obedient, if the Most High told you to go, don't worry about anything else. They will follow. Might not be for maybe months. It might be 2 months. It may be whatever. But my thing is, you have to be obedient, because my thing is, if God told me to leave, okay, and my husband or my kids didn't hear, it's still up to me to be obedient. Okay. Yeah. I know we don't want, I know your children are important. I know, I get it. Your husband, the relationship, I understand. But if he told you to leave, that means that he has a plan, not just for you, but for your children. But if you don't step out, and be obedient, how's everything else going to line up? Because if you don't go, sometimes women hear before men do. And sometimes women will come, when you leave, then they'll come because of the love for that relationship, because of the love they have for you, and them trying to be obedient also, they'll come. But if you don't move, that's gonna, sometimes you're the key to that. You're the key. And you may have one person in the family that's the key to that whole family. And that one person moving to another country will draw others in the family. Okay. And just like your food supply, sometimes it wasn't even for you. Like you said, it wasn't for you. That was for the next people. I've seen a movie where this young girl, she was probably maybe about 12, 13, and her and her dad got separated. It was the apocalypse or whatever. They got separated, but her dad had always taught her that this is, if we get separated, this is what I need you to do. We have to start teaching our kids that if we get separated, here and here's a map. She had kept the map with her, and they was in two different places. She was at the aunt's house, and the aunt, something happened to the aunt, and so she had to get back to the supply. So she met a little boy. He was probably 16. They were,
I saw that movie, and she buried the supply in the ground.
Yes, but
I saw that movie.
Man, that was but that's what we have to do. What's the name of that movie again? Do you remember the name?
I don't know. I remember that when you were talking about it. I was like, I know that movie. Yeah.
They got back to the supplies, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we have to start teaching our children. Okay, I left supplies at the house. I used to tell them, hey, Pilot Mountain was that was my getaway. Hanging Rock, that was my getaway. So I mean that Hanging Rock or Pilot Mountain, it wasn't that far from, it was an hour from each way. But I said, okay, we get disconnected. Maybe a Pilot Rock, Pilot Mountain. Okay. I'm just telling you, these are two mountains that's high enough where, because they always say, well, the zombies, they can't, the mountains, go to mountains, but that's two mountains in North Carolina where you can go that's high enough. But my thing is, we have to start talking about this. We have to start having these conversations. We had walkie-talkies. We had ways of communicating. You have to have this stuff. You have to be ready for what's coming. And some people don't even understand. And we as Black folk, remind me of Noah's Ark. Noah had been preaching them to people for years, right? So when the rain started coming, God had to shut the doors, because if Noah could have opened those gates or those doors, Noah would have drowned everybody. But God said, once I close this gate, that's it. You have to be obedient while it's time, because you may wait till the last minute and say, well, I'm gonna go at the last minute. But I'm gonna tell you what, if you guys have houses, that's your money right there to get you into some of these countries, because you're gonna have a certain amount of money to have your visas, or you got to bring in a certain amount of money to be able to live in certain countries. But if you sell that house, that's a way of you having money to create wealth in other countries. You can come here, you can start up your business, you can buy you a nice little home here, pay cash for it, and not have a house note. I'm just saying, you can also start your little business, see what's needed in Africa or other places where you're going, see what's needed and start your business there. I'm just saying, these are different ways. Sometimes you are sitting on your wealth and you won't sell your house, and that's the money that you're going to need in order to make this transition. So you can't be so stuck on that car. You can't be so stuck on that truck or that house. That could be a way for you to making a way out of no way for you. So while you sitting up there, look and see around you, what can you sell? What's around you that you can sell that'll help you to make this transition easier?
Yeah, that's right.
So sometimes we have to think ahead. We can't just be so disobedient and thinking, oh my God, I have a family, because I know one person said her family member told her, I'm not leaving my family, but you are that person's family. So what do you mean you're not leaving your family? What does that mean? I don't understand that. These grown children, you got grown children, then you talk to them and say, hey, this is the plan. This is what I'm planning on doing. You want to come? I have room. We can, make arrangements. But if they say no, then you still have to you are still obligated to do what the Most High told you to do. So you have to move. You have to be led. Welcome, Forecast. You have to be led. If he's telling you to go, you got to be obedient and know that they'll follow if you be obedient. But if you don't, guess what? Not only will you be disobedient, but your whole family, because it was up to you to lead them out. So you got to think of it. I see it two ways. I see it several different ways. It's not always, gonna make sense. It's not always gonna, it's not always gonna be to your liking. When you serve the Most High, honey, he may ask you to do some things, and you're gonna be like, what about Abraham? He told him to kill his son, right? I'm just saying. So it's either do it or don't, or you got to hear. And if you hear it, it may not even make sense, but sometimes you got to do it for it to make sense. Sometimes you don't see it right away, but once you step in that direction, it opens up for you to understand, oh, this is why I had to do this. I had to do this for this to happen. I had to do this for this to happen. And that's what it is. Sometimes you just got to walk. Don't even look at the situations. Don't even look at that little narrow plank you walking on right now. Don't even look at that little piece of rope that you holding on to. You got to walk and be obedient. It's better to be obedient. Then you get to see the other doors that he's actually opening up for you. But if you do nothing, he's not going to open up another door because you didn't even start the first door. You didn't even touch the first door. You didn't even start stepping toward the first door. But if you start, I guarantee you he's going to work that thing out for you. I do believe that. I do believe it. Even if you said move here, move somewhere, and then, you know, and then your visa or whatever, I do believe that God can move at the last minute or the last second of the last. I do believe that it might be 12:59.59 seconds. But that's when he moves sometimes. It might, you may not have, you know, you may not think you have enough time, but he's not going to send you somewhere and close that door and seal that door. I don't believe that. I believe that he is going to work that thing out. And it could be the last minute at 0.59. That's just what he does for me. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
guys thought?
Another point I wanted to bring up too about fear is, so we were trying to help a senior with her passport, and we were trying to help her with her passport. However, they started telling everyone you can't fly without the star on your driver's license, the real ID. So at the time, it was all over the news. Everyone was getting their real ID. It became a really big thing. You know, you need your real ID to fly. You need your real ID to fly. So she got stuck because she didn't want to get the star on the driver's license.
Uh-huh.
And because she didn't want to get the star on the driver's license, you know, I understood why, but at the same time, just so you know what the star on the driver's license is, just so you know what the real ID is,
Mhm.
the real ID is denying your faith. It's denying your belief in the living God or any religion. So basically, say there's another, when the COVID pandemic hit and
Uh-huh.
everyone was using religious exemptions, so they were able to do it because they didn't have this real ID on their license. So the real ID is saying you're waiving your religious rights. So when there's another wave of a virus that comes in and you're working, you're not gonna, if you have that real ID on your driver's license, you're not going to be able to waive your rights. You will have to get this mark in the back of the hand or the back of the forehead, or you will be fired. No man can buy or sell without the mark. So at the time, we weren't aware that that was the extent of the real ID. It's just
Oh, wow.
that she had her driver's
Let me
license.
get down on that, because I guess what? I didn't know anything about that either. That a lot of people don't. Did you know that, Lorraine, what she was explaining? Because I had no idea that that's what it was connected to.
Yes.
No, I didn't know about that part specifically, but I did know there was some monkey business behind it. You know,
Yes.
I knew that they were trying to do something with it.
But
Uh-huh.
even though if you did get it, it's a contract, and contracts can always be canceled at any time. You can always rescind and revoke your signature on any contract. The driver's license is especially one of them, because the driver's license holds you as cattle and slave to the government. That's what the driver's license is. The driver's license gives the courthouses jurisdiction over you to say, hey, you were speeding down the road. You know, you needed a license to drive. You signed up for this contract, so now we're going to take you in. So that's probably a whole nother show, because I'll go off on that
Oh
one.
yeah, you
But,
talked about
let me stick to this
and all
passport.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to the real ID, the senior that we're helping, she wanted to get her passport, but there was a lot of fear of not having this real ID, the star on the ID. So without her having the star on her ID, she didn't go get her passport because she was afraid that they were going to make her have this real ID in order to get her passport. So she never applied. But after I did some research, I know they were all on the news saying, you can't fly, you're not going to be able to fly, you need your real ID. It was everywhere. And that's all you heard the news media say is, if you don't have this star on your driver's license, you cannot fly. So I did further digging and I researched it, and come to find out, you only need the real ID to fly from state to state within the United States. That's it. You don't need a real ID for a passport. You don't need it. You need a regular driver's license
Right.
That's it. Or a birth certificate or a social security card to get your passport. Once you get your passport, you can use your passport even in the US with still without having the real ID to fly from state to state within the US and outside of the US. So your passport becomes your international and global ID at this point.
Wow, ain't that something? I wish you had told us.
It's okay. You can still rescind and revoke is your signature can rescind and revoke. It's a contract at any given time. You know,
Okay.
so yeah.
Wow, okay. Because I thought that in order to get on a plane, now they had it stipulated that you had to have it in order to fly out of the US.
Misinformation. They were scaring
on a
people.
plane, you needed to
Yeah.
have it. But come to find out,
Yeah.
when you what by you're saying this, they only look at your passport. They
Passport.
don't even look at your license when you get to the airport.
No, you don't need
they
it.
use your passport, so you really
Right.
but they do, like the machine, to get on the plane, they do have you to look into that machine before you get on the plane. That's if
You can
flying
waive your
through-
rights to that as well. You don't have to do
You-
that. You tell them
you
that
don't-
you want to waive your rights to it and you want to be exempt from that, and they will pull you over to the side and they will
Uh-huh.
do a personal pat down and a personal
Okay.
questionnaire for you, and that's it. You don't have to go through that scanner. You can be exempt from the body scanner if you're afraid, because I know people who have medical conditions where they can't go through the scanner of radiation. You can waive your rights to the scanner, the body scanner.
Okay.
You can waive your rights to the retina scanning. You can waive your
Okay.
rights. There are specific lines that they will take you to, and those lines of processing is longer, but you can waive your rights. Yes.
Okay, and
know.
sometimes they'll
I-
use that as a penalty to hurt, to hold you up from
Yeah,
what you need to do.
they will.
In order
They
to make
absolutely
it
will.
harder
Yeah.
for you to.
That's, you
No,
just
you
arrive,
can
you have to
get-
arrive at the airport maybe 12 hours
You-
sooner. And the
Yeah.
penalty for many of that, they may charge you, I think I heard of a $50 fine or something like that
Yeah.
before. So
Yeah.
just be prepared to pay $50 and arrive at the airport, 12 hours sooner.
Yeah.
But I mean, you
And
have
that's
to do
what
that
it is.
nowadays
It is a fine.
anyway.
You
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
probably get away with that in the States a lot more than you can international. I had to do the eye scan in Vienna, and I absolutely 100% knew they were not going to let me in. And I had my
Oh,
son.
yeah.
They
Oh,
were
yeah.
they were already giving me a hard time about our different last names, and I knew it was not going to fly. So
Yeah.
you got to assess each of those situations. I would have definitely been detained, and it would have been a whole thing getting here.
Yeah.
And I didn't, I don't agree with it, but in this case, I just said, you know what, we're done. So that's
In
it.
order
But,
to get
But yeah,
out.
that's part of the
but-
fear tactics though. But
but-
you do have a right, you have a global right. And
You
yeah,
do,
they
and
put
they
that
have
pressure
videos-
on you. Yeah, they
they-
put the
they do
pressure
have-
on you and make you fear. They do. It's
They
part of their fear tactics.
they do have some videos, and I have listened to other people, and I just was unwilling to do that in this particular circumstance in Vienna when I know that they have racism as well. Definitely, it was not the time to play with that.
Yeah.
So if you feel led to hold out, I say do it. And you got to go to the Most High for that. I did decline in the States, and they gave me attitude, but they let me through. So, and they didn't bother me in Frankfurt. In Vienna, they did.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
went through, I went through Zurich, and Zurich, I don't think it wasn't mandatory, some places, you walk through and some places did use it. So, but
Yeah.
I know leaving America, I had to, and I did.
Yeah, I didn't go through.
You know what?
I went to Korea.
Whatever I need to do to get out.
I didn't worry
Whatever
about it. I
need
just
to do to
let
get
the
out.
Lord cover me. I didn't, and I'm not suggesting other people do it or encourage other people to just
Yeah.
ignore it. It is a serious thing, but for me at that moment, I knew it was fine, and I just let it go, and we were done with
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Because I know that
so
there's
with
a
that-
fee for you not having that star on your license, especially if you're an elderly person. There is a fee, and they, fine you every so many days, from what I was understanding, that if you don't have that on your license, if you're in the States and you try to fly, that there is a fee that you're gonna pay every 10 days, that that fee is gonna be assessed, that you
So-
know.
So we went through Seoul, Korea when we came to Kenya. When we
Uh-huh.
went to Seoul, Korea, we didn't get the yellow fever vaccines. Even when we were
Oh,
in the
okay.
US, we were trying to get the yellow fever vaccine, but every Walgreens or CVS pharmacy was so-called out of it. So we are like, okay, if we can't get the vaccine anywhere, they're not even providing it anywhere for us to get it. So we jumped on the plane. We flew through Seoul, Korea, because that was one of our stops before we came to Kenya. But then when we were trying to leave out of Seoul, Korea, they stopped us. They stopped us. They asked for the yellow fever vaccine. We didn't have it. Then the guy at the desk was saying, well, you can't fly. And I said, that's not true. We can fly. And he says, no, you need your yellow fever vaccine. I said, show me your law. Show me your law and your rule that says that I can't fly to Kenya without my yellow fever vaccine. Show me your law. There's no law. You can use your Google too, y'all. Pull it right up then and there. Pull it up. Use technology to answer any of your questions. You don't have to wait to ask someone there. So he said, hold on right here. So they held us up. They had to go get a supervisor. The supervisor said, you guys cannot fly. Where's your yellow fever vaccine? I said, we don't have it. We plan on getting it when we go to Kenya. We plan on getting it there. But she says, well, you can't fly. And I said, no, that's not true. There's no law in Korea that states that if we don't have the yellow fever vaccine, that we cannot fly. So basically what they're doing at the airports is they are preventing, because we flew Asia Airlines, and this could be any airline. They're preventing if you fly with Asia Airlines and we got to Kenya and they said, no, we're not letting you in, then Asia Airlines responsible. So what we did was we pulled up the law and there was no such law. So with that, I stood on that argument, and you can't get timid with these people because they will put pressure on you. You have to stand there. You have to stand to the side and pray. You have to, you know what I mean? Yeah. And the person who talks the best, that's the person that if you're in a group with their family, whoever's the best talker, that's the person that addresses that person. It shouldn't be 4 or 5 people yelling at them at the same time because you're going to intimidate them and they're just going to deny it. You have the one person that talks, have them address the supervisor. Always ask first. They kept trying to give me a supervisor, but remember, there's a supervisor and then there's the manager. The manager is the head over everything. Ask for the manager. So when the manager came, I said, there is no law. There is literally no law. So she went back, hold on, let me go check. So she went back to go check. She stood back there as long as she could. Then she came back and she says, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and have to let you fly. But even though we're going to let you fly, if you get to Kenya, they don't let you in, then that's not our fault. So you got to wait. You got to sign this waiver saying that you're not going to sue us. So they will give you a waiver saying you're not going to sue us if you get there and you can't fly. Or you can't get in because you don't have the vaccine. So they gave us waivers, asked for a waiver that they can give you. So when they gave us this waiver, we had 10 minutes to get to the flight. And next thing you know, they assigned someone to us to run us. We were running through the airport with the flight attendant. Maybe 2 or 3 other people had to jump on 2 or 3 trains through, Kuala Lumpur. So there are ways, if there's a will, there's a way. There are different roadblocks in the way when you're trying to get to your journey, but use the person that speaks the most, the best, or articulates the best. Ask for a manager. Don't get intimidated because there's a lot of officers around. There's a lot of different changes around. People are stressed. You stay calm yourself. Don't let their words intimidate you. Don't you get intimidated. Don't you get frustrated. Be calm. Be calm, cool, collective, and step to the side. Just pray. It's going to work out. Tell yourself it's going to work out. Thoughts become things and words have energy and power. But if you move in fear, they're going to use that against you and they're going to turn you back. Yeah. But if you're determined, if there's a will, there's a way.
So it's probably best to just do your homework before you travel. What laws or
you always do your homework. You definitely do your homework, but you will probably run into something.
What the actual laws are in each country that you're traveling, and just make sure you do your homework before you go.
Because I know when I traveled 5 years ago, when I came to Kenya, Kenya was the only place that asked me for the yellow fever, and I took it before I left the States. And I got it through the health department. That's the only place they have it. When I checked, was the health department. I checked CV. I checked all.
When I got to Kenya, they didn't even ask us for it.
And that's the place that asked me for it. Yeah.
They didn't even ask us for it when we got here.
But any place else, because I went to Kenya, I went to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Zanzibar, Rwanda. Nobody asked me but Kenya. That was the only place, and that was the one. And I'm looking at him like, did you really have to ask me that? Because we had been there, all this time, And that was the only place that asked me. And thank God, I mean, I did have it. So, so
I
don't,
will say one thing about Kenya though. There was 2 lines when you step into Kenya, and there was a really long line for foreigners. And then there's a line that said it's for people who are at home.
Yes.
If this is your homeland. So when I landed on the grounds of Africa, I went to the airport and I was looking around. I saw the tourist line, and then I saw the line that said home. And there was I was like, I saw a police officer, and I was like, brother, I'm home. I was acting like Eddie Murphy and Coming to America. And I was like, I'm home, brother, I'm home. And he's like, put the camera down, no recording here, put the camera down. I said, yes, brother, but I'm home. And I said, where do I go? Where do I go? Which line? He goes, right here. So he points me to the line that said home. And I didn't have to go through the line for the tourist.
Yeah. Because
So I guess
when I came, they had the COVID line, and they had the COVID line, back, because this was about 5 years ago when they getting the vaccines. And I was like, well, that wasn't my line, because I went to the line that didn't have it. So of course that line was longer, but you had a lot of people that, 2 different lines. But I was like, I'm not stepping in that line. But my daughter went up there and got the paper, because she had the shot, and she got the paper for both of us. So I didn't have to show anything anyway. But I was thankful, because I was like, I wasn't doing that. But I only went to countries that wasn't required anyway. So, do your homework. If you're traveling, make sure you do your homework. Yes.
Yeah, Mauritius, you do not have to vaccinate. So that was also one of the things, because we don't vaccinate. So that was one of the things that was appealing to me when I was listening to the Most High. That was one of my cues. Like, yep, he's not going to lead me somewhere where I have to get all these pokes, because that's not what he told me to do. Yeah. So.
That's right.
Yeah, we didn't do the yellow fever vaccine. We didn't do the COVID vaccine. There's just certain people that are out there. My family's one of them. We just don't believe in vaccines. I think what really scared me away from the vaccines was the Tuskegee experiment. Am I saying that right?
Tuskegee. Yeah, Tuskegee. Yeah,
experiment. Yeah. And when I heard about that growing up, Tuskegee, I'm sorry. After that, nah, it's okay.
And that's the thing that really is so amazing, and how many Black people know about the Tuskegee Institute, the vaccine, how they did with the, that experiment. And we still got that COVID shot so freely. It was like, oh, hey. And I'm like, did we forget? Hello, did we forget? So that was kind of, kind of really, funny for me. Because I'm like looking at that and I'm like, no, I think so. And that's, and it's the history don't lie. We have to stand on history. We have to understand. But a lot of people have forgotten, and a lot of people don't know history. And when you don't know history, we know history, our age group, we know the history. But you got some young folks like 20 and 30 that don't know nothing about the Tuskegee, anything. They don't even know about the Black Wall Street. They know nothing about anything. This is why this is our requirement, parents, that we are still supposed to be educating our children and teaching our children. And if we had our own schools, then we could be educating our children and getting out of danger. Because right now, I do believe that we have our children, we put our children in danger in these schools and in these certain neighborhoods that we have chosen to live in. It's time to come out, be separate and learn not. That's what the word says. And a lot of the stuff that's happening to us and our babies wouldn't be happening if you came from among be separate. That's what he called for anyway. There's no reason we're supposed to be lumped up with all these people. You're supposed to be separate. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have 3 daughters, and all 3 of my daughters were homeschooled, and none of them ever got any vaccines.
Wow, see? But I don't believe you have to, but this is still, this is.
Yeah, and then, of course, being homeschooled, my daughters, they would have their friends that would say, you got no vaccines at all, you're in danger. But what people don't know is even through the school system, there's always waivers. There's waivers. You are the original, you're the mother of that child. You don't have to let someone tell you what your child needs and what they don't need. It's just a matter of diet. Make sure they take their vitamins, fresh fruits and vegetables, and exercise, keep them in a healthy, as healthy as you possibly can. And at the most, they'll probably catch is maybe a common cold, but that's probably even rare, if they're eating the right diet.
And if they're eating right, you're gonna that's building up your immune system anyway. And as I'm walking around the world, that's building up my immune system too. People don't
Yeah.
understand that. If you're in the midst of people, that's building up your immune system. So, so
Right.
why are we really taking all these vaccines? And they're coming up with more. Every time you look around, it's like, I think that kids take like a lot of them right about now. And I'm like, why do we need all that? I remember back in the day when we were coming up, it's only what, 4 or 5 vaccines that we needed.
Yeah.
And now it's like, ooh, what, 20? It's a bunch of them that they need now. And I'm like, why do you need so many?
Yeah.
We didn't need that back in the days.
I still have to sign a waiver for my adult son who's special needs, who's in a men's group home. I just signed one about 2 weeks ago to not vaccinate him.
Wow.
Because I'm
Very
his guardian, so they
Uh-huh.
have to ask me first. And even when COVID was going on, because we wouldn't do the poke, they were
Uh-huh.
going to quarantine him in his room, while all the other housemates got to be free because they got the poke. So I'm thinking, well, if they got the poke, then they shouldn't be contagious. I mean, so it was a whole thing, and actually, it was quite illegal for them to make him stay in his room, and he's a special
It
needs
was very
person.
illegal. It
So
was
I
very
had
illegal.
I had his dad. I called him. I said, "Go get our son right now." And he went and got him because that was inhumane, to
Yeah.
do that. But that was at the the very height of all this when they were trying to intimidate people, and he still
Right.
doesn't. And I still feel the same way. I'm like, well, then if he has to have it to have housing with you, then I guess he's not having housing with you. We'll figure it out.
That's
They want you to
interesting
put
too.
your child at risk for them, to make them
Yeah.
comfortable. No.
Yeah,
It's,
I
you
had
know,
to-
we have choices.
I had to go to a small town and pay a doctor cash out of pocket to get all of us
Waivers.
what's the word? Waivers. Yeah, they weren't religious waivers. They were completely free from all vaccinations. So yeah.
Good. So there's people out there that will do it for you, and for what's coming, and we're going to need, we're going to need it, because I do believe that Ebola and some other things are coming to America, because you got people that's leaving Uganda in the city where it's Ebola. And I do believe that they're going to travel with that. They're going to take it right back. So what you do with the digs that you're ditching, the ditches that you're digging right now in Kenya, be very careful that it's not coming back to you, because nobody in Kenya has Ebola. It's no signs whatsoever. But what's so sad and what's so heartbreaking is that this president, it's going to allow, that sickness to come to the country because of money, which is crazy to me.
My thing is, why would they have to put a quarantine
When there's no
place in Kenya
there.
when the
Right.
doctor who was treating, he's from Germany, and they flew him back to Germany, and he got cured. It was all over the news.
They
So
have
whatever
the
cure they
cure.
use for
They
him,
bring them to
they have the
Germany.
cure. Why don't they use a cure for the people who have it?
Exactly. That's what I don't understand. But now you have to understand all the fears that goes on. Okay, with America's a whole lot of games going on with America. Okay, but my thing is, back when Ebola first came out, they remember the 2 missionaries that had it from Uganda. What did they do?
Yeah.
They shipped them back to America. They got the cure and they were done. Right? They got whatever the vaccine, whatever they had. So we know that they have a cure for that. Right?
Mhm.
So if you're telling me that Germany, the guy was shipped to Germany, then ship them to Germany so that they can get the cure or the shot or whatever it's going to take for them in Germany, or just give it to Congo and Uganda. If you have the cure, why are you not sharing the cure? That's what people have to start looking at. There is a reason why he's taking this to Kenya. There's a reason. People have to understand. If I don't have a sickness, nobody in my house has chickenpox, why would I invite somebody with chickenpox in my house? Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about that.
If you look at the whole picture, isn't Abomination from Kenya? And isn't all of the major, like Microsoft and Google, aren't they here? So if you want to scare people away from Kenya, won't you tell people, hey, Ruto set up a whole camp there, and then nobody's flying in like that? So in other words, whatever they're telling you to do, if they're saying there's a fire over here,
then you go
or over there. In other words, they're trying to pinpoint that it's a facility being held in Kenya, maybe because they're trying to scare people away from Kenya.
Okay, it could be that too. For some reason, because they just somebody just bought 500 acres. The people that on that land over there, do fake land.
All those
They
people
bought
that just got caught,
acres.
they were buying houses here. The government
Yes,
system's
we
coming
just have
here.
the
Maybe
UN,
they're
they
saying
got
that to scare people away from here while they're setting up their own camp here.
Yeah, people don't understand what's going on. because they'll tell you, oh, it's dangerous in Africa, but who you see on the plane? I mean, when I was coming over here to Africa, I was the only person that looked like
Right.
me on the plane.
Me
And I'm like,
too.
"Where
I did a video. I was like, where's everybody at?
I was like, where y'all going? What now? You know, they
Yeah.
asked you, where you going? I'm like, well, where you going? I need to know where you, how come you on the plane when y'all said it was so dangerous? Okay, I had to ask that question. That's a question for the plane. Why you on the plane when you told me it was dangerous, but you on the plane? Okay,
Right.
but see, you have to understand your wealth is being stolen because y'all scared to come. You have to, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Get you some land when you're here. Get Black
Yeah.
Seed has land. You know, and there's other people that's here in Kenya that I mean in African who selling land and it's legit. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't let them steal your wealth. That's your wealth, family. That is your wealth. Okay.
Yeah.
But anybody have any last words they want to say before we tie it up?
I just want to add just this last thing, you know, if you're gonna make a move, do your best to make a move before they do this whole World Cup thing. I know that's gonna be probably, you know, in a couple of weeks. Just do what you can to, you know, just, you know, step out on faith, because after that World Cup, I'm telling you, it's gonna be really haywire everywhere, no matter where you go. So wherever you're gonna go now and just land there now.
The
Talk
opening
about the World
ceremony for that. Yeah, the opening ceremony for that is tonight, actually. And
wow.
it's starting right now. So, and I think it officially takes off on the 14th, but the opening ceremonies are tonight and tomorrow. And every single location is on a ley line.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why is it that you guys say go before that? What's going on with the World Cup that we are not aware of? That some might not be aware of.
Well, I'm not, Jakia was, or Nubian was saying that, not me.
Yeah.
I say be very hyper aware of that, that's going on, and pay attention to turn of events with that afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was
Okay.
saying it because of the opening performance. It's there's gonna be a light show. And in this light show, it's gonna bring everyone to a major illusion. And
Right.
with that major illusion, there's a lot of LGBT activity going on at these opening shows, just like it was in 2024, where they did the wedding supper, the 12 supper, the 12 disciples, and they had different images,
The last
LGBT.
number.
And then
Yeah.
also this Friday, the 11th, this Friday the 11th is where they're doing the Dead Sea in Israel, where it was Sodom and Gomorrah there, where they're also doing their mockery of that as well. So here it is. All of these are coinciding together. And we just ended the second Passover, where God gave people a chance to celebrate the second Passover. So now the plagues of Egypt begins. The show begins. That's why I say now
It is,
because God cannot be mocked. So it's all these, you know, these blatant, you know, in your face, you know, don't be surprised that they're waiting for satellites or things that fall out the sky. Don't be surprised. Remember, I told you, just be grounded, but don't be in a space of fear. No matter what you see, you're gonna see it. 1,000 will fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand. And trust me, it's gonna be very scary, but you will see the hand of the living God. You will, especially if you serve him. You're gonna see him protect you.
Yeah, there is a prophecy out there right now about the opening ceremony and a light flashing, and encouraging those of us who are believers to, once that happens, go into prayer and don't continue to watch the ceremony. Go into prayer for a time and come away from electronics and that kind of thing. So there is a prophecy about that, and I believe that it's a true prophecy. And today is the 11th, by the way. So the first ceremony is today. Yeah, it is. And no, because I had to look it up, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And when does this start? And, you know, when do I need to be on high alert for prayer? And just really watching the turn of events after this. And there's stages to it as well. The euphoria, there's some type of euphoria that's going to emanate from this light. And then after that, there's stages of what's going to go on.
We might see those with those Nephilims. You know, may see the Nephilims come back, you know, because they was talking about those anyway, you know, how they were appearing and wanted to appear. So you never know. You never know. It's for a reason. But we just don't keep our ears and eyes open because I know the fakeness, they just had their national LGBT June 2nd through the 5th, 4th or 6th, somewhere from there in the land. Okay, that's supposed to be the chosen. So I'm just saying. So you got a lot of stuff going on right about now. This whole month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just follow the fruits. Know the fruits. He said, "You will know my people by the fruits." Right? Look at the fruits. What fruits are you seeing? I don't see nothing in the LGBT in the Bible. I'm just saying. He talked about that being an abomination. So if you're gonna tell me it's an abomination, and you're gonna turn around and tell me you're the chosen, and then you're gonna celebrate it in your land, something's wrong somewhere. I'm just saying, something's wrong somewhere. So, but with that said, ladies, do you have anything else extra that you guys want to say? I guess you guys can talk about your foundations and to give the websites, and then we're gonna go. So the last words and your websites or your foundations, emails, whatever information you want to give.
Is Nubian locked up there? Is she on pot?
Nubian.
Is her screen locked up?
Nubian, you locked? I think. Okay, she's gonna come back. Okay, that's fine. She'll come back. Well, you give your foundation and your information about homeschooling, especially because I think you might have a lot of people that might be interested in that homeschooling.
Yes. Yes. So my website is Graceful Guidance Ministries, all lowercase.com. And I've started kind of partnering a little bit with graciously, they've invited me, and I'll put it that way, with the Hebrew Homeschooling Network, which is a wonderful, it's just in its infancy, and Sister Abigail is just doing a phenomenal job, and I think it's very needed in this time. There's lots of,
do you think she would like to come on here on live? You think you could get her on live for us?
I don't know, because maybe she's in the States, so this would be a weird time for, I can talk to her though, and see if she wants to come. Yeah, that might be a great idea. I'll see how she feels about that.
We could do a later time for her, maybe a 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock instead of a 1
or
o'clock.
evenings for her. Yeah. That's what her and I did too. We just sort of planned it. That would be a great plug-in for her, because she's really trying to network it. It's not really about her. It's more about, all of our resources. And I'm one of those resources, because I have been homeschooling for over 20 plus years. And so that's kind of where that kind of came in, but really just encouraging parents to consider homeschooling and think about what's going on in our world right now. But you can find me at gracefulguidanceministries.com or Graceful Guidance on YouTube. I also have a Journey Unto You YouTube, which has podcasts on there with interviews with parents who are parents of special needs children and their journeys. And you can also find me on Facebook at Graceful Guidance. And I upload a lot of writing works that I do for Substack. And right now I'm working on kind of navigating this journey and talking a lot more about that than I am special needs right at the moment. But that's how you can find me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you for coming. I was hoping that Nubian was going to flip back in here so we would get her information, but maybe she can put it in the chat if she don't get back on here. I was thinking she would come back.
She's Little Promises. Is it littlepromises.com or Little Promises on YouTube? I don't want to put the .com in there where it shouldn't be.
Little Promises.
I know that's her YouTube.
Oh, Little Promises YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe she's got a couple.
Yeah,
but
it is.
I know that all her other platforms are on her YouTube.
I see .org on here. Yes, I see littlepromises.org. Yeah. So I do see that. And she does have a few things going on with her. So just look up the Little Promises, and you pull up her information. She's on TikTok also as Nubian Divine 03. That is on TikTok. I see that. So she does have a couple things. So, but I appreciate you, Lorraine. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for hanging in there with the technicality.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, homeschool, and that's something that, just really wish there was, I'm hopeful that there's going to be more unity with that.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think you know, even with this situation that happened with the Anthony young man, I do believe that, I believe that a lot of stuff would not be happening to us if we were in our own schools, in our own, because God, the Most High told us, come from among and be separate. He said that for a reason. And if you are not following that, then anything can happen. Even on the jobs, even on your jobs, you're facing some stuff. Even on, even at schools, our children are facing PTSD and all kind of stuff that's happening in their schools because of the simple fact we shouldn't be in there in the first place. So we have to start thinking about other ways to educate our children. If we can't get a physical building, then we can get an international online, and grandmas are available to maybe come there and make sure the child is getting it. Even if you have to work, there's other ways of doing it. You can meet at a library. You can meet at, in a room in a library still, and have your homeschooling there. And each parent, you have 3 or 4 or 5 parents that maybe one can do Mondays and the other can do Tuesdays and the other can do Thursdays. Whatever it is you need to do to start off, do it. Because I believe that it's so worth it, because PTSD and all of this stuff that's going on shouldn't be. You shouldn't have a young man who's 18 facing 35 years. Okay. That's utterly ridiculous to me, but that's utterly ridiculous. I don't care what nobody say. There's no way an 18-year-old should have 35 years for a fight that he didn't start. Okay. For defending.
Exactly.
You have to understand, the propaganda is to make you afraid to hit back so they can do whatever they want. They can slap you, they can kick you, they can do whatever. You just better not raise your hand to hit back. That's not happening, because that's not happening. So I'm just saying, but that's a story of another day.
Yes, it is. But like I told the Lord, I reminded him twice now, the 400-year curse is over. So why are we still doing this?
It's
They
over.
don't get the right anymore. Yeah.
No, they don't. Access denied. And we should also talk a little bit more, about the courts and all that stuff. Those will be other conversations that we need to have. To teach our people what they need to be doing, because this is stuff that the church is not teaching. This is stuff that they don't know. So a lot of times things is happening because of the lack of understanding.
People perish for lack of knowledge.
For the lack of understanding. And if you don't know that you have this opportunity, and you don't know that you can go to the courts, and you don't understand that because you weren't taught it, and things are still happening, you praying, you fasting, and you seeking him, but stuff is still happening. It's something else going on. And we may take a show to talk about that. What else is going on? If you're praying and you're fasting and you're seeking and and it's still generational stuff that you're seeing, we need to talk about that because there's something else happening. But that's the story of another day, and we're gonna talk about that. That's a mandatory. I believe that's a mandatory. That's something that we need to talk about to help people to understand. How do I feel doors? What are these doors? What's going on ancestrally? But that, I tell you, you got to shut the doors, sometimes. But I appreciate you, Lorraine. I was trying to rate Forecast. This is great information, very interesting. Thank you, Forecast, for joining us. That's the young man that I'm on at 5:30, and on Thursdays mornings, which is Wednesday night for the States. But it's Thursdays morning for us. Yeah, I get up really early here to get on this live. So but I appreciate everybody.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Lorraine. And with that said, we're going to end today's broadcast, but just know that we'll be back next Thursday. We're trying to make this a weekly thing at 1:00 next Thursday, and hopefully we can get the young lady with the school who's going to talk more. And
I'll email her.
A day that we'll change it. It could be 2 weeks or 3 weeks that we'll get the people time to adjust their time and let them know that we'll be here another time and not at 1:00 on that Thursday. Okay.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you too. Have a wonderful, blessed day. You too. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. And thank you, Forecast, for coming. Have a good day.